Welcome back to another Alpha X replay cast brought to you right here on YouTube. Remember, guys, if you like our content and our replay cast, make sure to hit that subscribe button, click that bell if you want to know when our next videos go live, because we've got another outstanding matchup coming to you from the DreamHack Summer Season Finals between these two players, spawning in the bottom right of Blackburn. It's our blue Terran player. He is Innovation. And spawning in the bottom left, our red Zerg player. Playing for the Shopify Rebellion, this is Scarlett. Now, this replay cast is coming to you from the quarterfinals of the DreamHack Summer Season Finals. Both of these players had some pretty interesting games to get to this point in the event. Of course, our blue Korean Terran player found a lot of easy games on his side of the map, getting out of Group C in first place. Very quick and easy 4-0. His opponent had to fight just a little bit harder in Group A. She made it out in second place alongside Dream, and had a map score of about 4-4. Scarlett had to be pretty crafty to get out of that group. She had to go up against players such as Dream, Lambo, Trap, and showed some pretty outstanding games, having to take Lambo all the way to the end, and it was a bit of a heartbreak, of course, Lambo being the one that ended up unseating Cyril in the grand scheme of things, not being invited to the season finals. It's been a long time since we've not seen Cyril at an event, and what a way to go, having the person unseat you, just be absent from the playoffs. But Scarlett cannot be slept on her ZVZ. So definitely not a shock by any stretch of the imagination, but it did provide some wonderful games. So now we see these two players queuing up here in the quarterfinals of the season finals here for summer. The winner would go on to play the winner of Maru versus Hero Marine. So it's going to be a Terran regardless. Will it be Innovation to go exercise his ability and power in TVT, or will Scarlett have to topple Terran after Terran to find her way further into the playoff bracket? We're gonna have to find out here. So Blackburn being our opening map of this best of 5. Neither player really exercising any major builds, and this is pretty common, especially amongst players who respect each other. I think Scarlett has earned a lot of respect out of the Korean community. All the time that she's spent living in South Korea, playing in the GSL, being involved in different events, of course, as the IEM Pyeongchang champion. She's definitely done her part to secure herself as a Hall of Famer in the StarCraft 2 world. And Innovation is treating it as such here, opening up with a very reserved standard 1-1-1. No tech lab on the starport just yet. It's going to pop out a Viking first to try and eliminate a little bit of the scouting potential here. Scarlett's kind of playing it pretty chill. She is just doing some Ling scouting. She has the one Overlord off to the bottom left, which could possibly be spotted, although that Viking is going to rally up to the north as well. Scarlett, on the other side of the map, just playing very cautiously as well. She's going to get some Zerglings out onto the center of the map, see what kind of damage she can get done. But it's just a lot of drones at this point. No lair tech just yet. Fair amount of Zerglings, though, pushing out to the center of the map to try and get on top of these Hellions. The Hellions are actually going to get caught out and picked off. That's going to be great map coverage that is lost for Innovation. Innovation is not going to sweat it, though. Just going to pop out to his third base and continue his path forward. What I do find interesting, though, is the lack of that lair at this point. We're almost at the 5-minute mark, No lair just yet. This is a lot of Zerglings as well. And really, I don't know if Innovation has that much to really deal with this. And this is kind of a red alert situation here. The Hellions do a great job of retreating back and away, but those Zerglings are going to be able to get up into the main base and cause a little bit of chaos as well. So now these Hellions are having to do double duty. Lings are going to attack in multiple locations here. 3 of those SCVs do end up going down. A couple more might be on the way as well, and all for the cost of just a few of those of Zerglings. But here is going to be the response as well. Hellions get across the map with a medevac, and this is going to be an extreme amount of damage. This is not what Scarlett was hoping for in this exchange. She now loses her Zerglings and loses out on the opportunity to have an economic advantage, losing 8 drones to the 5 SCVs of Innovation. So it does kind of wash in the end because both players do lose their attacking units, but Scarlett was hoping to come away with much, much more. Instead, she has a lead rather than just, oh, well, you're done. I guess we'll just play this out and see how it goes. So Scarlett going to continue into her 4th base. This is kind of a nice little aggressive opening. The lair is now about halfway done. So things are already trying to transpire here. We do have roaches on the way tech-wise, picking up that +1 missile and +1 carapace as well. And that will provide kind of an interesting situation here. Roaches against an Innovation. Huh. And especially an Innovation who's not really shown any mech play at this point. And Scarlett's been in and seen the tech. She had those Zerglings in that base, so she knows that there are plenty of barracks that are producing right now. And she's going to get follow-up information that this medevac is going to be dropping off some bio, so we'll have to see what we have in store here. It could possibly be Ravagerling Bane would be my guess. Ravagerling Bane would be very, very good against tank bio. We do have that armory on the way at this point. Creep spread is in good shape here. Innovation is going to try and clean up a little bit of it. Scarlett very well known for her oppressive creep spread, and she is a very confident player when that creep moves out further and further onto the map. She is very good at her multitasking and is able to get a lot of work done there. But here we go. Scarlett's just going to build up here. 154 to 112. That's the kind of advantage you want to see as a Zerg player, and Innovation is going to have to find a way to respond to this. But I don't know that he necessarily knows how much is coming at this point. More creep spread going to be dealt with here. Yep, Scarlett doesn't quite want to show her hand just yet, but she is going to have to do something about this force lest she loses access to her 4th base location. Innovation has a 2nd force there on the bottom side of the creep. And now Innovation should have an idea of what's actually happening here. These queens are going to target down the medevac. That first medevac's going to go down. The second one's going to get very low. They're both going to get cleaned up. So this fighting force is just going to be gone. 2-2 on the way as well, as Scarlett's going to continue doubling down here. She's just going to come across with roaches. I mean, that's all this is going to be. This is just going to be a max out and a push. What does Innovation have on the opposite side of the map? He has 3 tanks. 3 tanks and about 30 Marines. No, this doesn't end. This doesn't end well for our Korean Terran. This just does not end well at all. Oh, I mean, tanks are obviously very, very good. And the concave is going to be very, very powerful, but the workers get pulled off of the line a little bit late. And I don't know if there's going to be a situation here where this works. All of the workers have been cleaned up here. The unit count is dwindling very quickly for our blue Terran player. The exchange is pretty good, though, but it comes at a cost of a lot of those SCVs. And even still, I mean, the exchange is fine from an army perspective, but now how does Innovation deal with the follow-up? I mean, it is going to be Lurker Tech behind this. This is a ever-growing situation here for Scarlett. She can keep the pedal to the metal against her opponent. Innovation has not been very aggressive this series so far. I say series like it isn't game number 1, but hasn't been super aggressive here in this game, and that's something that we notice a lot of in Innovation's play. He's very good at controlling the tempo of the game, keeping things under wraps, and moving at the speed that he wants to move. But instead, right now, Scarlett kind of owns the tempo. And it is showing in Innovation's lack of pushing across the map. It's these small forces for me that really kind of open things up for Scarlett to be more aggressive in this, in these engagements here. Oh, these roaches are going to find some good damage here. The planetary cannot fire back beyond that. So those roaches will just own that mineral line here for the time being. Hive is just about ready to finish up. The transition into Hydra Lurker Tech is on the way, but these medevacs all get caught out. Oh, Innovation losing access to that push. Vipers are on the way. Scarlett already just continuing her path here, and things continue to look great for the Canadian Zerg player. Meanwhile, her 5th base is down into the top left corner of the map. Scan does go down into the main just to try and see what it can see, but Scarlett's put most of her tech down in the natural, and that's going to get a follow-up scan. Innovation has to know what's going on, and he's, I mean, not going to find out a whole lot here. He's going to see the Hive tech. He is going to see that Lurker Den working away. Now, to Innovation's credit, though, he has kind of closed this gap a little bit. 112 to 91. Innovation's in a spot where he can at least hold his own ground. He's got those sensor towers up and in position on top of the army that he is building up. It's going to be more tanks and more Marines. That biotech does sit pretty well, and especially when it gets up into that +2 tank attack range. But notably, no +3/+3 at this point. So the infantry is going to be stifled just a little bit on the attack upgrades. Meanwhile, Scarlett has her 2-2 done. Her 3-3 is already halfway there as well. And the adaptive talent is being researched here for her lurkers. So those lurkers are going to become more and more powerful as the game goes along. I'm going to be patient with those lurkers. I do like that. Yeah, this creep spread. Look at this creep spread. This creep spread is just immaculate. Now, will Innovation be able to find a response to this? I don't think he will. Tanks get pulled across the mineral line. Oh, more tanks from the high ground getting pulled as well, right into the meat grinder of those lurkers. This is not what Innovation needed to start off this engagement here. And instead, now he's going to lose this gold mineral line. He's going to have to burn scans if he wants to try and reclaim it. And this is not turning out to be such a great position here. Despite the fact that Innovation has a pretty decent high ground here, those lurkers are going to get a lot of that bio worked down from the right-hand side. Now, the bio will push forward onto creep, but there's plenty of lurkers here. And burrowed up on the ramp will be a very difficult position for Innovation to try and break. But instead, he is just going to take off to the left-hand side, but he puts himself in harm's way. The army does get split up here, and that is going to shut down Innovation's push for the most part. Although I think this bio might just escape down to the bottom side here. Double Spire just now about to finish up here for our Canadian Zerg player as Innovation takes that top right-hand corner. The longer this game goes on for the Terran player, this does end up becoming a better situation for him as he secures more and more economy. Viper's going to pull just a couple more tanks as Scarlett tries to get a little bit better positioning here. We do have 6 worker kills so far. I believe most of that just comes out of the lurker engagement here. So continuing to hold down that mineral line. Again, one nice tank pull, more tank pulls. Here comes a nice little bio force. Roaches and Ravagers at the ready. Just a little bit too much bio here to really lock that into place. So that defense is going to be stifled for just a moment, but it comes at the cost of more of these worker kills at that 4th base. Finally, the reinforcements are able to clean this up for Scarlett as she is working very, very hard on making sure that Innovation never takes that base ever again. Oh, I love the Lurker run by. Lurker run by is so good. Gonna have to burn a scan to clean out that mineral line. Now, Ghost Academy is a good choice here. But these ghosts are going to have to get up in numbers to be a really useful tool in this defense here. Innovation currently only at 4. And that does make things a little bit more complicated for the Terran player. Especially since he has not been able to really effectively mine from this base for quite some time. Okay, snipes on a couple of Vipers here are going to be really good. Gets a pull off on one of the ghosts as well, trying to pull one of the ghosts that was actually executing a snipe. Not able to make that one work. Innovation still has this this good defensible position, but letting all of these lurkers in here is not going to be a great decision, as these tanks are going to get whittled away here. Lurkers are going to stutter step forward as they shred through this Bioforce, and as they own this ramp, Scarlett will own game number 1. She cleans up the first game in this best of 5, going up 1-0 over her opponent. Jumping out to a 1-0 lead, Scarlett gives herself an opportunity to be competitive in this series. We go to Oxide for map number 2 to see how things are going to shake up between these two players. Now, I felt like Scarlett played a really just slow, patient game with Innovation. Sometimes we've seen the Canadian Zerg really lean into her timing attacks and try and find different ways to be aggressive across the map. But instead, she decides to play very cautiously and laid back and lean into that late game form that she is very well known for in her ZVT. So we'll have to see how things shake up for the blue Terran player as he works to find a way to beat, or at least take a game off of his opponent, Scarlett. Innovation isn't necessarily known for anything super cheeky or aggressive, but I'm pretty sure that we can comb through the archives and find moments where Innovation has exercised his good micro skills. He's never going to be known like Maru for being like, oh, I'm just going to go drop 3 racks over here. Oh, now I'm going to go drop a 3 racks, but on the opposite side of the map. But Innovation's definitely not above pulling something out if he needs to. So once again, seems like we are going to get standard orders out of both of our players here. Very early command center, once again. We're seeing that a lot lately in the Terran build order meta. Getting that 3rd base up rather early. Zerg players just really have a difficult time punishing that if they don't completely all in. So if one of your opponents just scouts the Zerg player going for a standard macro opening, it's a very safe choice to try and throw down to that command center early. Gives you more scans, gives you more SUV production. It's just all around a good macro style opening here for the Terran player. Now, Oxide is kind of an interesting map to play ZVT. There are a lot of these siegeable locations that work out very, very well for the Terran player. You can get tanks up behind that rock wall. Not only does it have high ground, but it's also got that rock wall in front, so you can kind of just own this center location. So bio tank push can usually be very, very strong, especially here at the 3rd base location. We got more breakable rocks as well. So Innovation admittedly has to feel really comfortable on this particular map for game number 2. Probably one of the more common maps that we see in the pool right now. And we are very rapidly closing in on a new map pool. It'll be interesting to see how the metas kind of change and work around with maps, especially in what we'll call like the late game of the StarCraft 2 life expectancy. Maybe going into a little bit of Brood War-esque style of map making where, okay, we know that the balance of the units won't change. So how do we use map making to help create new metas and new play styles, or even bring back old ones? Should be all very interesting. Really looking forward to what the Team Liquid map making contest is is going to produce. And big shout out to Team Liquid and Shopify for helping make those opportunities possible again. The real goats of the scene. All right, so one individual Viking followed by one individual Banshee. We don't have a whole lot of major aggression coming out beyond that. A fourth base coming down here for Scarlett. Innovation already out to his third base location as well, which landing this early is a good tell that Innovation's feeling confident in his push, but Scarlett really didn't charge him in game number 1, so he might feel more empowered to really lean into that quick opening here, as she's not really coming across the map with anything too terribly aggressive. So now Viking's going to own that airspace right there. Banshee is over here, but there is no Banshee cloak, so this should not be too terrible to deal with. The third base already being put together. Big thing to note here is that worker count is rather consistent right now. 61 to 55. Scarlett's going to put a little bit of damage down onto this Banshee. Try to chase it off a little bit further. But this dead airspace will be a safe haven for now for the Banshee and the Viking. Armory follow-up behind this alongside a typical bio push and expand. Oh. Looking on those rock walls is going to be really important here. The creep spread is a little roasty toasty right now. That's going to get pushed back just a little bit, but nothing the Queens can't fix here. A fifth base coming down for Scarlett. I mean, this is as quiet as can be for both of our players. Now Innovation's going to be able to start pushing some creep back with his Marines, but I mean, look how far out this creep spread is already. I mean, it's already knocking on the rocks that is just right outside his staging area. This is very, very good by our Canadian Zerg so far. Innovation's going to have to find a way to deal with this, and it seems like he's working out a deal right now with all of these lings. Trade offer. I receive less aggression. You receive dead Zerglings. Scarlett chose to accept. Innovation with a very, very nice wall there. I mean, it's just like, it's a perfect line. Beautiful. All right, so that fourth base halfway done as well. Looks like Innovation's going to dial up a little bit of split aggression. More than anything, just to clear out this creep that is very quickly advancing forward here. Lings are going to find the Hellions at this point. The Hellions are tradable as long as the Marines can find some damage on the opposite corner of wherever they're living. I don't think those are going to be in jeopardy right now. However, it looks like Muta's on the way. Should be a pretty solid place to try and play from. But I mean, this is as macro can be. Mutiling Bane's going to be the first drop of aggression that Scarlett really brings on the opposite side of the map here, and I mean, she's got some really good control here. Going to add +1 flyer attack on top of that. Those mutas are going to be able to hit units just a little bit harder. They're going to be a little bit more aggressive onto tanks and medevacs as well. So that will be a nice exchange. Now, Innovation on the back side of this is in lockstep with Scarlett on his upgrades. His 2-2 just about complete here, about 75% done. He's got +1 vehicle weapons also being researched as well. Baneling speed's been completed. Hive tech already on the way. It's a nice amount of progression here for both players. That's kind of resulted in just very, very limited engagements here. Here's going to be our first moment, though. Oh, this Bioforce is just completely surrounded by all these Zerglings. Is this Dark? Dark played like this in TSL. Oh, those Banelings could just try and pop this planetary. Instead, it's just going to pop everything, getting on top of the planetary fortress, picking off 9 workers. About the only thing left behind is going to be a large handful of units, but 62 Zerglings on the reinforcement tab. So a pretty nice exchange here, but showing of the mutas is going to bring us into Thor play. So Thors are going to come out alongside mines. We've got drilling claws being researched as well. +3 infantry weapons on the way. We'll have to see if Carapace is going to make the bill anytime soon. But right now, Innovation has a pretty decent hold so far. Losing that base is complicating, but it's not going to be a long-term advantage. But it is a sizable one here for Scarlett, dropping all the way down to 1,800 in her favor. But a greater spire on the way. I mean, she's got the army to back this up. She's got the economy to back this up as well. So she might as well try to make that late game transition at the 10-minute, 30-second mark. Still only one real major engagement here between these two. Innovation just, again, playing very calmly and confidently. As long as he can protect this fourth base going back up again, he is in a position where he can rebound from losing that base. Scan does go down, sees the 2 macro hatcheries here. Really important if you're playing just a predominantly Ling Bane style. You're going to constantly trade out more and more units inefficiently, so you need to be able to build more efficiently. The Queens are kind of caught a little bit far forward. Transfuses are not put down just yet. The Mutas are going to go try and find some damage in that main base here as Innovation takes his main army to go clean out a little bit of the creep. Will there be a repair on the turret? No, there will not be. So these Mutas are going to find a decent amount of damage here, but plenty of bio to clean this up. I actually think Scarlett might have had enough here. She might have had enough to really engage on top of that, and that would have been a scary moment for Innovation. But instead, she's going to rotate around here, trying to get into another mineral line. See if she can get double-digit worker kills. She will find that as well. And she finds the army out in the center of the map. These Banelings do roll on forward to pick up about half of the army. And those Thors are looking a little exposed. But Medivacs will get those up and away. 10 worker kills, though, for Scarlett. And she's got, again, the economy and the base count to just be able to refresh this army over and over and over again. 3-3. Is about 60% done here, but now Innovation is going to have a nice upgrade advantage here for a brief amount of time. His +3 infantry weapons is finishing up. This could be a very strong push timing for Innovation, and it seems like he might try to take advantage of that. Here comes the reinforcements on the 4th base location. Now the 5th base is just now finishing up and should try and fly on out here. Mutas are going to pick off a few of the reinforcements, but here comes the scary part of this army. Even just having a couple of Thors means the Mutas can never engage that main army. Oh, but finds a gap in the defenses here of Innovation. Picks off a few more workers, 5 go down. Does Scarlett have what she needs to really deal with this army? I mean, not at this point, though. The Mutas have been whittled down in number. Broodlords are going to be on the way finally here from that Greater Spire. And things are looking a little, they should be okay here for the Canadian Zerg. Just a matter of whether or not she can zone for those Broodlords. This is always just one giant stim away from getting on top of things, but the Thors do fall. There is one Thor tucked back and away, but the Broodlords now will be able to fight rather unopposed, especially in this wonderful choke here. More Banelings come rolling on in. Innovation not able to advance forward here. There is one final Thor trying to save the day, but instead does get knocked down. Innovation, though, is still on the push here. Still has a sizable force. Plenty of bio here to deal things out, but as long as Innovation keeps fighting in that choke, he's not going to trade efficiently. And Scarlett lets him know that, and now she pushes across the map. There are a couple of tanks here, but that's just way too many Zerglings. Those are going to come piling on in. More of the bio gets picked away. The Corruptor's starting to work away on those Medivacs, and this is an overwhelming force here for Scarlett as she overwhelms the Korean Terran player. Scarlett taking a sizable advantage here, 186 to 122. Does Innovation have enough to hold this back? Does he have anything to deal with the Broodlords at this point? I don't think he does. The Queens have come forward as well to help spot for transfuses and to help wipe out any Viking coverage. The Viking count is still rather low. Right now, I believe it's inexistent, and ghosts are in mass production here, if that gives any indication of where Innovation's head is at right now. 27 more workers have gone down. The mine's doing everything they can to try and save the day. But with good detection, that will not be enough. Scarlett, with game number 2, sits herself on match point over top the blue Korean Terran. Map number 3 here. Innovation on his final tournament life here in the DreamHack Summer Season Final against a Canadian Zerg who is just dialing up the pressure on his opponent. Scarlett looking really good in game number 1 and 2. It's a matter of whether or not she can close it out here in game number 3. Now, you have to wonder if Innovation is kind of anxious about a possible, I don't know, like being knocked out 0-3 by a foreigner in a major ESL tournament. It's definitely not the way Innovation would like to have this go, but I mean, it's two macro games that that fell to Scarlett, and that's kind of his thing. So I'm curious to see what's going to be happening here for Innovation in map number 3. Now, it does seem like it's a fair amount of simple opening here, but Scarlett does have a sizable Zergling count right now. Not overwhelming, but I mean, this could easily knock down the building command center down at the natural. If that Reaper doesn't intercept these Zerglings could get a lot of damage done, and it seems like that might actually end up being the case here. What's going to happen here? The Reaper is going to show itself, but this command center is not going to get knocked down either. So, not finding the damage that she was probably hoping for at this point. And now we just see a normal situation kind of build up here. Where are those Zerglings at? I think the Zerglings ended up going back. Oh no, they're at that third base location. Scarlett trying to be a little cheeky here. See if she can jump on top of a vulnerable moment. But it seems like Innovation is just going to be able to play a bit more standard. Really keep things locked in. That third base has been scouted, as this Reaper should find some decent information. Oh, Scarlett does not want that Reaper to exist, though. Pulls the drones. The wrong part of town, my friend. Can't just go zipping through the creep like that. Someone's gonna get you. Now this feels a bit more aggressive here. Trying to grab an early medevac, going to pick off the Overlord. It's a nice little situation shaping up here. Innovation's looking a bit more aggressive here in game number 3. This is possibly a good thing. I mean, game 1 and game 2, not super hyper aggressive here at the opening outset. Maybe Scarlett is not going to be prepared for it, but she is going to get these Zerglings up into this mineral line here at the natural. 4 of those workers do go down for just a handful of lings. That's a great exchange all the way around, but does she have enough to hold off against these Marines on the opposite side of the map? It appears as if she will. The Queen's in good position here. The creep spread still pretty reasonable as well. Again, this is a really nice aggressive engagement back and forth. This was not the engagement, though, that Innovation was looking for. Marines harassing in that third base location on top of it. Innovation is working really hard to find some openings here. I think more than anything, maybe trying to buy just a little bit of time for him to pull something out a bit more cheeky here as the Banshee's going to finish up here. There's a second Banshee, and Cloaking Field will be completed in just a moment. That lair is not quite halfway done. So it's going to be Spore Crawlers that help provide vision and detection for Scarlett. But here comes Scarlett with a fair amount of Zerglings on top of this already a little bit more wild game here in game number 3. But Innovation's doing the right thing here. He is mixing things up. If you do the same thing you always did, you will get the same result you always got. And this is finding a lot of good damage here. There's just no detection just yet. Staying away from that mineral line is going to be helpful here, but picking off one of those queens is a nice little start as Innovation is trying to whittle away at his opponent. Scarlett taking that 4th base location at the 9 o'clock position on the map. Now, I was wondering if Innovation might try a 2-base timing, but it seems like in this game he is just going to go for a 3rd base and has a sizable amount of units at this point. I mean, it's feeling pretty cozy right now. But there hasn't been a whole lot of response for these Banshees at the outset here. Armory getting finished up. Seems like Innovation's going to have a pretty strong timing right now. +1, 1/1 infantry and weapons and combat shield. Oh, it's all finishing at the same time. Oh, if these queens get caught out of position, they're pulled off a creep right now. These queens are going to be needed for a defense hold here, and oh, this is actually starting to look a little scary here. Banelings only now getting brought in. Innovation might just stim forward to try and pick off some of these Banelings, and he does have to split things up. The tanks are going to be in great position, though, and even on a creep, these Banelings without speed are going to be difficult to use against this really well-placed tank positioning here. And Scarlett is having to defend, but she's losing so many of those queens right off of the front. Great picks on the Banes so far. Where are the Zerglings? The Zerglings are only now on the backside, but there aren't that many. 20 more Zerglings in production right now as Innovation is starting to bring more of this army across. He thought about splitting it up, but then he realized, wait a minute, this is a very vulnerable position here for Scarlett. And he decides to consolidate his forces. This is a pretty strong wraparound, though. Does Innovation have good vision of this? He is going to have the tank firing on the high ground. Here comes the tanks on the low ground, but those are not going to connect the Banelings. The Banelings are going to get all picked off, and now it's just Lings and Queens and one more tank and a lot of bio pushing on forward here. Scarlett's not going to be able to hold this. Innovation takes a fast lead here, and he grabs game number 3 in this best of 5, starting his comeback over the Canadian Zerg. All right, game number 4 takes us to Romanticide here. Innovation has cleaned up one game in his defense of his tournament life here in this best of 5, and appears that Innovation wants to really drive that nail into the wood with this 2 racks proxy. But look at this, Scarlett with the perfect Overlord Scout is going to be able to see that this is in fact coming, and she just pulls all of the drones right away. Like, not all of them, but 4 of them. 4 is a reasonable amount. Create a little bit of chaos. And in small numbers, the Marines are actually not very good against this number of drones. Oh, that great RNG on the building path. Oh, but then gets really good follow-up. Oh, she'd like to kill that. Oh, not quite. Now, this is still pretty nice. First off, 1 Marine versus 4 drones. The drones are faster, which means that Marine is not going to be able to survive for very long. Now, 2 Marines, though, that's a much better fight for the Terran. But delaying this as long as possible is really crucial. That's going to allow queen production to begin. That's going to allow for those zerglings to get down in place. And now it's just one SCV. So the production of the bunker is going to be delayed by just a little bit. It's a follow-up, though. Follow-up SCV is here. Oh, yeah, that bunker is going to get worked away. All the drones get pulled off of the line here. There's a few down at the main, but overall, oh, this is actually a pretty decent stutter step by Innovation, getting a lot more damage than I think Scarlett would have otherwise preferred. Might get 4 drone kills, 5 drone kills. That should be discontinued aggression here at this point, so pretty well held so far. Ooh, a lot of those Zerglings very, very low right now. And she's just going to choose to run them across the map at this point because she knows that those Marines are going to be needed back at home. And if they're back at home, they are not pushing Scarlett's natural. So that should be a pretty good hold as of right now. But nice little situation shaping up here so far. Innovation did have a sizable income advantage here for a period of time. Oh, that makes sense. All the drones were off of the line. Well, of course. Of course that makes sense. The barracks have brought themselves back home as well. So this starts to transition into a normal-ish looking game. A little bit of excitement out of the gate will start to lead us into what could be a pretty standard TVZ, but maybe not. Innovation is coming back with one of the barracks. That could be an indicator right there that Innovation has a composition in mind, and it might involve mech. It's wishy-washy here, out in the center of the map. Second barracks is going to come home as well, and not going to give up those 5 Marines who so bravely fought in the Battle of Romanticide LE 2021. They'll tell their grandchildren the stories of their adventures. And those Banshees are having barbecued drone for dinner tonight. Now, this does end up being a bit of an awkward situation here for the Zerg player. Scarlett not able to get out to her third base until only just now. So hitting that at about the 5-minute mark, Innovation will be able to grab a decent amount of economy here as he goes for battle cruiser. Oh, a battle cruiser follow-up. Cheese into cheese. This is bad to worse here for Scarlett. Scarlett's going to lose a lot of these drones that she's worked very hard to procure for the cost of not that much. Oh, might be able to get the follow-up here. Oh, they're still alive. And no ling speed just yet, which means that's going to be more drone kills. 10 go down as a result here. If we look at that battle report does not look super, super great. When you're trading out 4 Hellions for 10 workers, yes, the number itself is pretty close to even on the mineral count. But what it doesn't account for is the amount of damage over the course of time. That those drones aren't becoming buildings, those aren't mining resources. It's a much better trade for the blue Terran player. And Innovation is just buying himself time here. He's got that battle cruiser about 60% of the way done. Ling speed only now going to be finishing up. Scarlett will scout that third base location of Innovation, but has not gotten the information on the battle cruiser just yet. Additional Hellion's going to go out and try and find more drone damage. Now here goes the jump, and aggressive gets more aggressive here. Battle cruiser's going to find a fair amount of damage. Oh, the mineral line's immediately pulled here. Innovation playing very patiently, not going to overcommit, to Kit roasting off that third mineral line. This is some very patient, calculated play here by Innovation. The queen count is rather high, though, so Scarlett's not going to be down and out just yet. Her creep spread also is thriving as a result of it, despite the fact that she opened this game very defensively against her aggressive Terran opponent. She's managed to continue pushing her creep further and further out. She's actually going to try and chase this down. Oh, a split off group of queens as well. Very, very well played by Scarlett so far. We'll be able to see the move out timing of the third base with that Ling. And behind all of this, Innovation is not going to continue into more and more battle cruiser. In fact, he's just going to go right back into bio. So it will be up to Scarlett to see how she responds to this. She just continues droning right now. It's going to pick up that +1 Carapace, and it looks like it's going to be Roaches. The Ravager Ling Bane worked out really well for her in game number 1. It's a matter of whether or not she can capitalize that in game number 2 as well. And it seems like she is going to try and go back into the ways of game 1 and 2, playing very confidently into the late game. She is going to pick up a 5th base alongside her 4th base. She's got to make sure that she has enough to hold off against Innovation. What works for her in games number 1 and 2 is that there wasn't a whole lot of harassment by either player. Scarlett was able to get her Ling count up very high. She had Banelings. She had what she needed to hold things back. Oh, this could be a really good snipe off of on a couple of Medivacs. Oh, both of them are going to get picked away. That's going to delay this push, I think. Man, what a great pick by Scarlett here. A little careless by Innovation, but it doesn't seem like it's going to dull his sparkle any. Getting those Hellbats into position. Oh, the battle cruiser going back into action here at the natural location. This is going to be difficult to deal with, and that could be a moment of opportunity here for Innovation. Yes, and that's absolutely going to be the case. This 5th base is going to have to be canceled. Zergling's on the opposite side of the map, finding some reinforcements, but not going to be able to deal with that very well. And this is still not dealt with. The Queen's on the back ranks. Is he just going to let that go? Oh, it's so dangerously low, but the Queens might find it. One last spine. Ah, poor health. That battle cruiser will live to fight again. Scarlett has an opportunity here to transition. She takes it. The infestation pit is already down. No hive movement just yet, but going to pick up the tunneling roaches. Oh, grab it. Great snipe. Scarlett with a good map awareness here picks off that battle cruiser, so that will no longer be a harassment tool for Innovation. But going into Infestors, getting that tunneling claws for roaches. And this should be pretty decent to deal with a lot of tank bio. The Ravager count doesn't seem very high as of yet. It's only at 7. 7 Ravagers isn't quite the number. I think closer to 15, maybe 20. It's got to be a delicate balance. The roaches need to be in high enough supply to soak up damage for those roaches, or for the Ravagers rather, excuse me. Good split by Scarlett here. Oh, that first Infestor though, having the upgrade to have the energy right away, pops a little bit of damage onto the bio there. Going to limit the amount of damage that she takes on that mineral line. Here comes the Nidus network. Love it. Loving everything about it. Hydroden's going to come down as well. The upgrades are a little bit mismatched here for Scarlett. She's only rocking 1-1 with missile attack and has the opportunity to go into her later game tech, but things not shaping up here very, very well. The great concave. Scarlett trying her hardest to get the tank, but a giant fungal on top of all of that bio. There's so many red Marines. The Marines are going to have to back off, but they will live to fight once again. Scarlett having a good engagement here, but still trying to work really hard to get this tank taken care of, and that's actually going to get picked up as well. So things continue to get into a great situation for innovation here, but Scarlett is not down and out just yet. Both of these players dealing some calculated blows to each other. Lurker tech on the way here for Scarlett. Innovation still finding lots of good ways to deal aggression across the map. It's interesting that Scarlett hasn't found a way to really shut down the medevacs. Oh, she was thinking that she might get lucky again. She picked off a battle cruiser that way. Could she get a medevac? No, not quite. Not this time. She hasn't found a way to deal with those medevac drops just yet. Seems like addition. Oh, okay. Grabs a good medevac there. That was a bit more advantageous. But she will have some Hydra tech available. That could be very good for deflecting some of those drops. Took another drop queuing up in the bottom left. Scarlett very interested in this siege position here, getting a couple of those tanks, but now sets herself up for a push at that third base. Tank is going to be rather far forward, so Biles could easily take care of that. Oh, innovation into that fourth base location. Picks off 6 workers. Scarlett's trying to channel her inner Terran. Where are those Biles at? No Biles available for the Ravagers. There they finally go down, but it's going to cost one of the Ravagers' lives. Medevac does get picked off by the Spore Crawler, so that will be a decent amount of damage. But here comes the Nidus Worm. That should create a little bit of chaos. I don't know that there's going to be a whole lot that loads up into that Nidus Canal, mostly because Innovation is now going to try and push up to that 5th base location. Roaches will be enough. What is Innovation going to choose to do? He sends a little bit of the army back home to try and deal with this, but he sees an opportunity to try and push forward. This is going to be a rather scary situation here. Good fungal on the Southern Army, but not enough to deal with the Northern Army just yet. There really aren't that many units here to fight. It's just Queens and some spellcasters, and the spellcasters really don't do that much damage. All the roaches get cleaned up at the main base. Here come the lurkers, though. Lurkers will finally provide a little bit of coverage, but notice how there's not a whole lot available here. This is still a very scary position for Scarlett to try and hold, as Innovation is pushing forward. He's getting a great engagement, continuing to provide a little bit of damage. Now the Vipers are going to be able to provide some support, enough units to pick off those tanks, and Innovation is going to have to rotate or get back home. But this is still proving to be a very good push here for Scarlett, as she is going to clean up a little bit of this. Every medevac that gets picked off is a good amount of damage here. Getting a chance to see those high gas units go should make Scarlett feel a little bit more confident in her holds, but the bio will still trade out rather well against this largely Roche Hydra army. Some okay fungals here. Pick up a couple of those medevacs, but it comes at the cost of aggression on the north side of the map. That actually should be a pick. Very, very close, but Innovation does grab that base in the final seconds of life for that medevac. So the medevac served their purpose. Those Marines will go down in Terran history. Oh, wow. Look at all of these lurkers. 19 lurkers on the production tab. That's so many. I mean, Raynor would just be like licking his lips right now. Like, oh, 19. Imagine what I could do with 19 lurkers. So Scarlett has a pretty sizable bank to play with right now. She doesn't have a whole lot of gas, but she is working with a fair amount of minerals, which is going to allow her to get a decent amount of Zergling reinforcements. Oh, a bit of a choke up here at this base defense. Should finally clear itself up, but I think maybe a little bit more gets killed than otherwise would have. Great Viper pulls with those Lurkers. Lurkers are going to try and stutter step forward here to see if they can get any final kills, but they're having a difficult time really engaging on this. They will own this ramp for a period of time. I cannot believe that planetary can fire as far as it does, but look at that concave here. The Lurkers are not going to be able to deal with that. One fungal to try and shut this down, but she is going to lose all of those investors as well. Oh, Scarlett, that was not the decision to make there. Oh my gosh, she loses 19 Lurkers and a couple of infestors. We were talking about how Scarlett has to feel good anytime she sees those high gas value units get picked off for Innovation, but Innovation showing that he can do it right back. And Scarlett really doesn't have that much gas to play with here, so she's got to be very, very careful. Lings are not going to trade as efficiently against these high aggression units of Innovation. Okay, picking off a few more of those. Oh, but losing a few of those Hydras for free. This is a very scrappy battle here for Scarlett and Innovation, but Innovation is making the most of the situation here. It's going to take this Bioforce and run up to the high side of the map. These Lurkers just cannot get positioned fast enough. Even on creep, Innovation is owning the airspace here. Vipers have to be very careful. She cannot afford to lose these high-value gas targets. This is starting to look really, really good for the blue Terran player. He's pulling Scarlett apart. She's not able to really effectively defend at all these different locations. The Hydras are very good against dealing with those medevacs, but they're so squishy and they're so vulnerable that if they don't have a decent amount of protection, oh, that's going to work out really well. Oh no, Scarlett! That Spore Crawler did not kill all of those medevacs, so they earned death. The death by Hydra execution. What a way to go. All right, so this is starting to look a little scary here. The mineral bank of Scarlett is dwindling rapidly. She does have 3/3 upgrades, only now working on her +1. Oh no, losing the Vipers. Not a great situation here. Only loses one, could have lost both, but cannot afford to replace some of these high gas units for much longer. She really needs to be able to bank up more and more of her gas. Now, she did take the rich Vespine geyser at that pocket base on the 12 o'clock part of the map, so she will get additional gas income off of that, but that's going to be limited for maybe just a little while longer. She has been mining from it for a large period of time. A matter of how long she can hold off against some of these pushes. Without Viper support, these Lurkers are not going to be able to trade efficiently against this Biotank, and this base is going to go down once again. In fact, it looks like the rich Vespine geyser is all mined out, so that is no longer available to her. She does have better gas income, but not as long as those bases get picked off. Okay, that base is still vulnerable. She will be able to clean up this army on the high side, but Innovation on the bottom left now dealing extra damage. There's no gas mining happening here as well. The base does get cleaned up as on top of it. Innovation is everywhere on this map all at once. Scarlett is having such a difficult time. She's trying to run drones around, but she doesn't know where to send them. And this bio just continues to wreak havoc. Now Innovation is just going to cancel that base up on the high side. Great scan. These Lurkers are not going to be able to have extended life in this game. And again, that is just so many units picked off. 32 Lurkers killed. Despite that, though, minerals, it's almost an even exchange, but look at the gas. The gas is almost 4,000 resources in the favor of Innovation, and Innovation just continues to trade out efficiently here. 196 to 134, and Scarlett's bank, once flush with resources, now dwindling. She's got 51 workers, 82 for Innovation. This is looking pretty confident for our blue Terran. Innovation is not going to go quietly. If he goes, going to make Scarlett work for it. And it seems like right now Innovation positioning himself for a game number 5. And it's starting to look like the closing window of opportunity here for Scarlett. Starting to sense the desperation in the moment here. Should be able to pick off that planetary. That's going to be a huge pickup. That's going to give Scarlett a lot of advantage here. But can she stop the push across the map? That's a lot of bio, and the bio was waiting as long as possible to get stimmed. Losing this base, I think, is a non-negotiable here for Scarlett. It's one of her final bases that she's mining from, and it's going to get picked off. I think that leaves her with like two mining bases at this time. This is just unfortunate here. Scarlett manages to keep herself above 100 supply, but it's just going to be relentless waves of aggression. Oh, good pull. Good catch on one of the medevacs. Actually grabs one of the medevacs with Marauders in it as well, so that's going to be a bigger investment kill. But you have to wonder, at this point in the game, we're at the 23-minute mark. Scarlett down 44 to 75 workers. She's down 114 supply to 200 of innovation. Is there a path to success here for Scarlett in game number 4? I mean, it's Innovation's game to lose at this point. The lurker count is rather low, only 1. She does have 4 Vipers, which is helpful, but again, how do you protect these bases? The 12 o'clock base is dead. The pocket base is just about to fall. Innovation, is he on the verge of a reverse sweep? We head to game number 5 to find out. Here we are, the ace match, match number 5. Scarlett opening very strong in this best of 5 with a 2-0 start, playing 2 very well played macro games, very patient, very widespread, lots of great patience and tactics. But Innovation making game 3 and 4 just a little bit more scrappy, and it works out in his favor. But it all comes down to this: who will claim game number 5? The winner will advance on in the playoff bracket, and the loser will have to wait until DreamHack fall to continue in this ESL run. Of course, money's on the line, opportunities on the line. Both of these players are going to fight for every little bit here, but you have to imagine that Innovation is going to keep the aggression high. It worked out for him in game number 1 and 2. And of course, he's going to want to extend that into the final series. And actually, sorry, game number 3 and 4. My apologies. My apologies. Words are hard. But when words get hard, brain work harder. So if you're Scarlett, what's the game plan here? Oh, this is actually pretty decent harassment here by the Reaper. Queen will finally drive this away. If you're Scarlett, what is the response here? What is the answer that you seek in game number 5? Do you try to draw Innovation out to a long-form game again? I mean, it worked out really well for her in games number 1 and 2. Innovation tosses down the command center here. It could be an indicator of a long-form game. That would work out really well for Scarlett. And on 2,000 atmospheres, it's a pretty solid map for Zerg. I mean, granted, it's a good map for Terran as well. Lots of good siege points, lots of kind of windy chokes that can work out really well into the Terran player's favor. But there's plenty of attack paths here for the Zerg player. And if Scarlett wants to go into the overwhelming Ling Bane style that she did in her first 2 games, I mean, this would be the map to do it on. But it is just a standard 1-1-1 for Innovation. He did have a tech lab building. We'll have to see if the tech lab's going to produce anything wildly interesting, or if it's just going to be a Banshee. Okay, we do have the Banshee. Will there be Banshee Cloak, though? Oh, that Ling is going to get in. Oh, that Ling gets the just... Oh, it gets the scout of a lifetime. Now, it did not see the cloak start. But is that going to be enough of an indicator? So cloak was started after the Zergling was killed. Zergling going to try and get a follow-up scout here. Will not find any success just yet. There's a fair amount of Hellions here. No armory, so we don't have any potential for Hellbats. But there will be an additional Banshee as well. So 2 Banshee harassment. How are we doing on Lair? No Lair. No Lair in production. Banshee Cloak is halfway done. Scarlett. Is Scarlett going to miss this? Is she counting on the fact that there is not Cloak in research? Oh. That could be a devastating mistake here. Are there any... No, there are no... There's nothing here. There's no detection. Lair now just gets started up here. Banshee Cloak is about to finish up. This is a scary moment here. Okay, Scarlett going to try and push forward here. She does see the 3rd base coming in. Yeah, that Lair is just barely started. There go the 2 Banshees. 12 o'clock position on the minimap. Oh. That might just find devastating damage. Okay, Marines should be able to limit the amount of scouting that happens here, but she's going to see enough. She's going to see all of the barracks. That's going to indicate bioplay out of Innovation. But what might not be as clear is the timing on that stim pack. Stim pack is just about to finish up, so Innovation's going to wind up with kind of a 2-pronged attack here. The first one just now getting into place. These Banshees, there's no Sport Crawler. These Banshees are going to get completely unresponded to. I mean, Innovation might end up getting double-digit kills here. Now, finally, a Spore goes down. The Overseer is being brought in. 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, grabs 1 on the final plug. 18 drone kills for the cost of nothing. It's the greatest trade deal in the history of trade deals, maybe ever, for Innovation. And he's not done. 20, 21. Scarlett has got to be feeling a little bit uncomfortable right now. Now, she might be able to pick off one of those Banshees. Okay, yeah, one will get cleaned up. The second one might go down, too. That would be just the least consolation prize. That Banshee's just a little bit too fast. Spire is going to be on the way as well. But I don't know. I think that is possibly a scary situation here. Innovation is going to get, once again, the straightest, bluest wall of supply depots that we've ever seen. And we see the supply jumping up rapidly for Innovation here. Innovation 73 to 52. Scarlett's trying to get into a new phase of the game. She's going to have +1 melee attack, which will be good because that will be able to engage a little bit more cleanly against this Bioforce. But the Bio's already at 1-1, and it's coming across the map right now. So despite the fact that she's trying to throw down a 5th base location, I feel like she's trying to think 5-10 minutes ahead in this game. She can't play this game the way she played game 1 and 2, or else she is going to see herself excused from this playoff bracket. Innovation has the push dialed up here, 166 to 135. Banelings are only now being brought in here, and all of these units are getting pushed forward here. But the Hellbats are going to go right on top of these Banelings. Are the Banelings going to be allowed to finish? If they do, they're going to get a lot of good damage done. They do, but the Hellbats find most of the damage in of itself. There are follow-up Banelings. Bio on the high side here, not quite going to get connected with, but the tanks are finding so much damage, and there's still tanks. The tanks are still here. Where are the Zerglings? The Zerglings are gone. The Banshee comes in from behind, getting more damage done, and Scarlett, oh, can she hang on? I don't know. 107 to 105. Scarlett has to tap out, and Innovation cleans up this series. 3-2. He advances on in the playoff bracket over Scarlett. A well-fought series between these two players.